So you've literally not been on live stream in like forever.
No.
But so you feel like you're not supposed to be here?
No, it's just been a long time.
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my feet back under me.
Right.
That's what we're doing.
You get your sea legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good to have you back. But
Thank you. I got to remember how to do all this stuff.
I think you got it. Like, oh my God, it has been a long time since you've run the mix board.
Weeks and weeks. I did Weekly Rumble earlier this week, and yeah, that was it. No, not Weekly Rumble. I did the Dev Hangout yesterday, not Weekly Rumble.
Right. Well,
and then this.
Do you have your list of what we're going to talk about today?
No.
I mean,
we were gonna talk about it.
We're going to talk about this.
We got Doug.
I just took away all your
I got Doug in here.
Sure. Doug's always in here. I like when Doug's in here.
I'm always in here. This is just where I live.
In my heart. Doug's always in my heart.
You're always welcome, Doug. That's the thing. Like,
all right.
You don't have to wait for an invitation from us to be in here. Just like I'll get you a mic. You just show up and be like, you point at me and you point at the mic and then you point emphatically back at yourself like I'm want one of those.
Sure.
And if I don't have one to give you, I will Spartan kick somebody out of a chair.
This is Privateer Press.
Yeah, we're trying a little.
Is that how we're doing it from now on? Every entrance, like every door at a con, we just like right through on that push bar.
No.
Just
boom, and everything slows down.
Oh, so, that would be amazing.
So if you could have either a soundtrack, or you could make moments in your life slow down for dramatic effect.
Oh, but
definitely.
I will add in that when if you do it with the slowdown, you get a free sound effect
so
to go
get,
with it.
All right.
All right.
So theme music
or
time distortion.
Okay. Yeah, I like both, but the slowdown you'd have to have. Although I don't know if I'd ever do anything dramatic enough to be worth the slowdown.
Now I'm just imagining every day I walk by you, and you just walking into the office with your little satchel,
it would look cool.
And the time slows down every morning for you.
It would
You're
still
just
look pretty badass, I guess.
Instead of the maybe you get the Kill Bill down.
That has to come at a key moment, like when you're just looking at somebody, just catching their eye, and they're like, "Oh crap, it's on."
That guy's for real.
But yeah, I like it. So do you ever sing songs in the little pre-show here? You do a little.
We do whatever we want.
Right.
I got a minute before we actually go live.
All right.
I got a whole minute here.
Just random guitar riffs.
He's like tuning his instrument.
I mean, you literally know. I have no idea how the show intro ever is until I get the 3, 2, 1, go, and then it's just like whatever comes out of my head is what happens.
I want to find out though that he's got like a spiral notebook like Eminem, just like sitting writing down all these little riffs and lyrics. He just pulls them out and he comes in like, I just freestyle, I just go like this.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It's time to go live.
Going live.
Okay, ready?
Let me get ready.
I need the countdown.
Hold on. I gotta switch this over.
Yep.
All right, and in 3, 2, 1.
Good morning, everybody. It's Get Your Paint On. There, we're already done. See, everybody's already been there.
I think talking about it just
well, it threw me off. I wasn't ready.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. This is Get Your Paint On, your weekly painting program where you sit back with your favorite Privateer Press staffers and paint the day away to perfection. How many P's did I throw in that?
That was quite a few.
I didn't count, but it was a good number.
Probably could have done more. I am your host, Dallas Kemp, and joining me today is the impeccable and immeasurable Doug Seacat.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Doug.
Immeasurable.
Immeasurable.
I don't even think that makes sense.
I don't know how that works.
I like it.
Your presence is unmeasurable.
The infinite and eternal Doug Seacat.
He's the alpha and the omega. And running the board today is our OG mix man, Tony Konchak.
Yeah, it's good to be back. This is fun.
It's good to have you.
I miss it.
We missed you, Tony. We've always missed you. So painting today, I've got my chosen back on the paint table. Thank you for joining us on Facebook or Twitch, wherever you're at. or just in your heart of hearts, wherever you're painting from today.
I'm glad to be back when you're working on this because I kind of wanted to see you continue with these guys.
Super awesome models. I'm kind of loving them a whole lot. So we'll see what I do today.
Yeah, and for anybody who missed it last week, we're painting up the Chosen of Everblight, and I'm going to jump in and say this is my first time getting a real good look at the assembled models put together with paint on them, and they keep getting more impressive. Yeah. When I saw the concept art, I got excited. When I found out how they work in the game, I got excited. When I started seeing parts, I got excited, and now I'm just getting more and more excited. I can say excited more. I am not the wordsmith that Doug is.
No, I kind of felt the same way. I hadn't seen them, the physical form of them until I came in here.
This is joy of the studio. I get to see the physical forms real early.
They've got some great movement in the poses, and as I said before, I really like the little spiked helmet.
Yeah, he's got a lot of really cool design elements, and they're actually pretty clean detail-wise, so it makes them quite the joy to paint. I do not have a Legion army. These in GoLab literally got me to paint Legion.
Yeah, I could see putting together like a Blighted Ogre specific force.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to play them in Company Iron and break the rules.
Sure. Company Iron's great. I love Company Iron.
These aren't even legal. I don't care. Whatever.
You can talk to Oz,
Yeah, that's what I do is I just tell Oz what I want to do, and he makes it legal for me.
Yeah.
It's been working out so far. So.
He likes including stuff in there.
Yeah. So, Tony, what were we talking about today? You had a list started.
I don't think we ever got to the list. I think we were just kind of chit-chatting a bit before the show, and then we forgot to actually come up with any potential topics. So, yeah, I guess we're winging it today.
Winging it fast and loose.
Do we ever not wing it?
Wait, I was going to say, did we just pull the curtain back on our process?
Yeah. I'm a loose cannon. So, if you watched last week, I painted some cold steel on their armor. This week, I'm adding some of the new paints that was released last week. Kind of dropped that one on everybody. I know some people I've seen on Facebook have started to receive their new paints because they ordered them. I'm using the new Galvanized Steel as a first shade, and all that's really doing is just dulling the. People are also asking for the volume to be a little bit louder, if we can.
Oh yeah, I think I got that. But if we're still a little low, yeah, go ahead and let me know that it needs to get kicked up.
But what the Galvanized Steel is doing is adding a dulling effect to the metals because it's a semi-metallic over top of cold steel, so it's dulling it down. And I don't know if it's really creating shade. It's just putting. Well, it is creating shade, but it's not by making it darker. It's by reducing the metallosity. Mm-hmm. So putting that on the sides that I don't want to be shiny metal reduces that overall metallosity. It's going to make it look more metal. And also because Galvanized Steel has a lot of blue in it, I'm keeping the armor very cool, which is what I want because that adds contrast against my warm skins. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
For a general sense, as people go to use the semi-metallics to paint, is there a general location that they're wanting to add those?
So I have a lot of questions I've been getting a lot of questions on social media about that exact topic, about like what are the shades and highlights to these colors. And honestly, I can't give you a comprehensive list. The list is too dang long. But like you can use Galvanized Steel as a shade like I'm doing here. You could use it as a base coat and shade it darker. It also makes a good highlight for Boiler Black or for Pig Iron or for whatever. Boiler Black is kind of the same way. Like Boiler Black makes a beautiful base coat that you highlight up from with your regular metallics, but it could also be used to shade other colors as well. And then to shade it, I would use XL blue mixed with Battlefield brown, or maybe just Thamar black, or maybe some Thamar black mixed into boiler black. Like, there's just so many things to do with these colors. So experimentation, and trust me, videos will be coming as we paint more and more with them and do more and more videos. We'll be adding them to our repertoire. I have been painting with these on my own in my own time. But now that I can paint them online, I can start showing you what I've been doing. But not all at once, right? It's like, I can't do it all at once.
I got my pots of the new colors last week, so I'm pretty excited to pop them open. I haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I need to get them myself. I'm definitely excited for it because I do find sometimes that really strong metallic look, you know, you try to kind of bring it down a little bit in other ways, but I'm excited to try using these.
Yeah, and you can see on this metal how that's dulling out that metal, right? And it's a neat effect. I personally really enjoy. I'm not studio painting these. I'm just kind of kicking these out. And I'm going to add some boiler black to the shadows here in a minute after I get this first layer on here. Should I do all of them all at once, or should I just do one guy? I should probably do them all.
Let's let the chat choose.
Chat. Do you want me to paint all three all at once, or just paint one? What do you want? Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. What? I guess I should also shade the chainmail a little bit. So I'm going to thin the paint down for that. I want to thin it down much more than I normally would. Kind of paint the chainmail. And just kind of whisk it down in there. Kind of like a wash. I'm very much controlling it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to dull out some of those links. Doug, now you did say the other week that you wanted to get back into some painting.
Yeah, I've kind of started to kind of clean up an area in my apartment. I had been neglecting my painting for quite a while just because after I moved, I just kind of didn't have like a good spot for it. And so I just kind of decided that I don't really need a kitchen table for eating or anything, right? So
who eats at kitchen tables anymore?
Yeah, exactly. It had already been kind of getting, you know, piled on with stuff. So I'm like, I should use this space a little bit better for something useful.
Yeah, like painting miniatures.
Yeah, like painting miniatures.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have joked before that you know, it's one of those things where like I used to do a little bit of painting every day in the morning before I came into work, and I'd like to kind of get back into that habit because it was pretty surprising how quickly it would add up. Just, you know, even like 15 minutes, half hour every day. It added up pretty fast, and I'd kind of gotten out of the habit of doing that.
That is so true. I know Schick is very much the master of finding the small amount of time to paint, and he just gets so much done because he just does it. He's just like, you know what? I got 15 minutes. Boom, I painted.
Yeah, and you know, if you can listen to podcasts or whatever, do whatever during that time. And so yeah, I just need to get. I think once I have that little space set aside where I can just sit down, start painting, I'll get back into it pretty quick.
You could just bring them in here.
That's true.
I do find that having any sort of designated space, like it could be, you know, a full room or setup, or just a little card table or a portion of a dining room table or anything where you can leave it all set up, really helps. And I say that having that space of my own in a room in my house, and I still managed to have some difficulty getting to it. So
well, yeah, and
no matter what you got, you still got to sit your butt in the chair.
Yeah, then it's just a matter of getting in the habit and just making it part of your routine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can make it routine. You just come into work, and then we'll sit down 15
Sure.
minutes every day.
Yeah, anything I can do to stall writing is actually good. I like that.
Do you have a hard time getting up and going in the morning when it comes to writing?
Yeah, sometimes it depends. Like if I'm in the middle of a project, it's usually better. But yeah, I always have this sort of blank page issue, and you know, really good at finding distractions to working on what I should be working on. You know,
sure.
That's just humanity, right?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, it's a human condition.
And Matt Getz yesterday, he said an interesting thing. It came up that he talked about how he would just write fiction as a warm-up to writing, that he would write to write, which I know is common for, you know, doing art and drawing and sketching. You warm up your hand. It never occurred to me to do word sketches.
Yeah, he has better luck doing that than I do. I sometimes what I would do is I would be more kind of brainstorming. So I'm not actually writing the fiction yet, but I'm kind of like just trying to work through an idea, and I find that helpful. But yeah, I'll find all kinds of things to do before I start writing. Like, you know, it's a good time to clean up stuff. There's always more cleanup you can do, straighten things up a little bit.
So something out of place.
Move your stuff around.
Well, I'm definitely a proponent of the you know, just last night somebody asked me, they're like, how do you get motivated? I'm like, I tell myself I'm going to paint for 30 minutes. I sit down and just paint. I don't paint the project I'm actually working on. I find some other random little project that's just sitting there, and I doodle. 30 minutes later, you've got your project in your hand and you're doing it, right? Because your brain, you just got to get your brain like in that.
One thing that I know does help me is knowing what I'm going to do in advance of the next time I do it. So not even just having set up and having a space, but if I know, like, okay, the next time I sit down, it's going to be this model, and I'm probably going to be using one of the set of colors.
Right.
The choice is taken out. I find that I'll kind of pace around my house sometimes between activities because I'm like, I know what needs doing, but really kind of biting into which activity is next. If you can take that out of the equation, that's a lot easier to get at something.
Yeah.
And I think Dallas's advice for painting for 30 minutes, that scales.
Oh, absolutely.
Painting for 60 seconds. Like, one, worst case scenario, you get 60 seconds of painting done, which is more than zero.
More than zero.
But also has a tendency
mathematically, that's correct,
to create momentum. So just painting for a minute gets you in painting mode.
Yeah, and then you can extend it. I mean, and I'll do the same thing with writing. Like, you know, there's times where I'm like having a hard time struggling with an idea. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to make myself write for like 10 minutes. But then I'll find once I get into it, maybe I pick up some speed, wind up writing for a half hour, an hour. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't even think that was going to work. But
I'm trying to imagine the bizarre fanfic that you write, Torma. Like, what IP is it?
Yeah, I've written some pretty wacky stuff. There's some of it. There's been some occasion. I'd like to find a format. You know, maybe I could just set up my own site or something. But I have some, I don't know, what kind of satire. It's Iron Kingdoms. You know, alternate Iron Kingdoms, I guess you could say. You know, things that wouldn't really happen in the setting, but I've done a couple of those just for fun.
I'm going to answer a couple of questions real quick. Doug Hamilton, 5 new colors. That's how many?
Who's Doug Hamilton?
Doug Hamilton is some dude traveling around.
Is that a celebrity? I know that name.
Yeah, he's in another country right now.
I'm going to go to IMDb.
Let's not throw around
I'm going to go to IMDb and find out who this guy is.
Let's not throw around celebrity. Matthew Bunting, I get it. I'm on you. Outcast. I'm there. I'm right there with you. Patrick Augustin would like a P3 tutorial using Glazes ink. Trust me, that's coming. I saw one. Where did I see it at? Smart Alex 791 says it's less about motivation, more about discipline. That's kind of what I'm getting at without saying those words, because the word discipline is a scary word. It's about just setting down and generating motivation. You're a human brain, and the human brain is a silly mechanical device that can be easily tricked and fooled. So by sitting down and just being like, I'm just going to do this for 30 minutes, you generate motivation out of that discipline. Does that make sense?
Well, sometimes you don't want to commit to, you know, you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to do X, Y, or Z. But if you fool yourself into thinking you're just dabbling with it, then you pretty soon you're doing it anyway.
Yeah, sounds like get past those obstacles, get beyond some of those distractions.
Sounds like my dating life.
So jealous. Doug Hamilton's in Cairo.
Cairo?
Fancy boy.
That's pretty cool.
Is it? I'm just jealous. I'm sorry. I was lashing out there. There's just me lashing out.
It also looks like chat wants you to paint one chosen all at once.
Oh, okay.
Because they get to see more of the process that way.
Sure.
If you go through all of them, then you don't get quite to see as many steps.
Make me do stuff at home.
Finish the rest of the unit on your own time.
15 Striker 911 says 15-20 minutes a day will get a lot done. I agree. The way I say that is an hour a day will change your life. Sorry, I need a cup of, not a cup. I mean, I need a cup. I need a third cup. Whatever. I needed a drink of coffee. So I'm going to switch over to Boiler Black now. And I'm just going to start working some darker shades. And once again, as a semi-metallic, this is very dull and less metallic-y. I can start building in my contrast there. Boop.
Yeah, I expect I'm going to get a lot of use out of that color.
Ah, yeah. Such a good color. Well, the cool thing is it's gunmetal, right? It's like it's super good.
Well, and I already liked the pig iron quite a bit, and it looks like this could be used in some interesting ways.
Oh yeah, you can totally use this in conjunction with pig iron. It works really good like that. I'm actually just started painting my G-tanks last night for Monpok.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if anybody cares about Monpok. I'm going to tell you right now, I do. Surprise, surprise, there's a game about robots versus monsters, and I'm interested. But I started painting my G-tanks last night, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to give away my color scheme, but it definitely uses boiler black.
I'm gonna get you to give me that secret later. I'm gonna talk it out of you.
I mean, we can talk about. I'm gonna be painting.
I thought you were playing all coy.
I mean, I always play coy. I always play hard to get. But everybody knows the truth, right?
Oh,
I'm not.
Dallas, tell me your secret. No, those are my secrets. Dallas, tell me your secret. All right, here's the deal.
Okay.
You got me.
Why you got to push so hard? Doug, here's a question for you.
Okay.
I like that question.
Yeah, from Alec. Do you find that your personal games sometimes inspire your writing?
Ooh.
Yeah, I would say so. In many different ways. Like I have a regular role-playing game group that meets every week as well, and have had some fun ideas come out of that maybe wouldn't be literally translated, but just some kind of wacky incident will happen, and I can find a way to bring that into the writing. With the tabletop stuff, I don't know if it's direct one-to-one, but there have been times where it's really helped to kind of get a feel for, I don't know, especially with the caster characters, like actually playing them on the tabletop. You're always going to want that to be a little different than the story, but you want the story to feel evocative of what they can do on the tabletop. And so
that makes sense.
Yeah, there's times where something cool will happen, and like I can't remember who I was playing against, but one of my favorite games with Nemo involved, a late game having Nemo rush the enemy caster and get into melee with him, at the end, which isn't generally a good idea. But there was just something that felt right about it at the time, and I'm like, Nemo can get in there when he needs to.
Hey man, he's
been 7 fighting focus for a long time. Yeah, he's got 7 focus, and so I think sometimes it's just channeling the character. It's like you're just like, the character. I know what I should do for the strategy of the game, but you know what? I think Nemo's had enough today. He's going to go in there with the stick.
He has had enough of your crap.
Yeah.
He's coming in with the stick.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's the thing. It's not that he can't. He just knows his moment. He's got that experience.
Wait.
And patience.
Yeah, exactly. That's how he's lived so long.
Well, and his dope mustache.
Well, yeah, that helps.
Everybody needs a dope mustache.
I don't have a dope mustache. I'm kind of upset right now.
And
see, that's how you know how you can improve your life, Dallas. You can get one of those big dope mustaches.
All right. I'm in. You've convinced me. That's not true. I'm not going to grow a mustache.
I'll just have to ask you again. Dallas, grow a mustache.
Oh, damn it. So this is very thin. And the whole goal here is I'm purposely trying to keep the metal pretty light because I want that contrast against that dark, warm brown skin. So just kind of building that in there, just playing, having fun. Like I said, this is my personal army, so I'm not being super precise about it. Precise enough. Close enough is good enough.
So when you're painting for just tabletop use like this, do you kind of do you think about like what's visible, from where you're playing, and kind of do less detail in areas that you wouldn't see from the table?
Yeah. Like the back of a shield, black.
Yeah.
Like it's It's for an army. It's for a tabletop. I'm way less particular about.
So you think about the army as a whole rather than model to model?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to approach armies. Is like, you know, so like when you're painting a painting, like think about your favorite painting, right? That painting is one big canvas, right? So you go to a museum, you see a canvas painting, and you're just completely moved. Miniatures, this is one pixel out of that painting.
Right.
Right? For your
it's
army.
One element.
Yeah. It's one pixel of the painting if it's for your army. So you have to take all your pixels, put them out on the table, and then you have your canvas, your painting. That's how I look at it.
So now I'm imagining you painting an army like in impressionist style. You know, just kind of, you have to be back a little bit to really see it.
I have actually painted the Ragman.
Did you?
Using basically pointillism. Just
that would be pretty cool.
Little dots. It's called stippling in the miniature world. But it was basically pointillism, an entire model done in pointillism.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting, it was just an experiment to see like how it looks, and it actually does work. It's a fun little, I like doing stuff like that. I've seen bust painted Van Gogh style.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of cool. Is that the kind of thing that only really works from one angle, or were they able to get it to work?
They were able to get to work from multiple angles. If you remind me, I might try to send you a link.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I really like seeing when painters kind of push themselves like that and try something, you know, unusual.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you don't want to do it all the time. You're not going to do that for your army, but especially for something like a bust or a piece that you kind of want to have on display.
Yeah, stuff like that's very, very fun and kind of experimental, and you can kind of get away with not doing it perfect because you're just like, look, I'm not Van Gogh, man. So I screwed it up, but that's fine. I still love it. So.
Well, not only that, you can scale down that idea to anybody painting a miniature. You got to take some chances. Try a new technique. Try something out. You know, that's literally how you're going to get better.
Yeah,
and by seeing what doesn't work as well as what does.
And especially, you know, like we were talking about before, if you've got a whole army, if you've got a whole unit, if you're trying a couple unusual things on one or two of the models, you know, when you're playing in the game, nobody's going to be squinting down at that one trencher, you know, where you tried some unusual leather or something.
Yeah, Trencher B, what is up with your boots?
Yeah.
Sorry, sir.
And if you do do some experiments and somebody you're playing against gives you a hard time, find a new opponent.
Yeah, that's not likely. It's like we were talking about. It's always cool to play with painted minis. You know, even ones that look a little sloppy or what have you. And mine usually look a little sloppy.
That's fine.
Because my hands are shaky. Dude,
I get asked, they're like, you have a very stabby motion when you paint. And I'm like, that's to compensate for the shakiness. That's literally how I paint all my fine details, is I compensate for my shakiness with little stabby motions.
I'll have to give that a try.
Except for when I really need to, and then I have to concentrate and really think.
Yeah.
Like doing freehand.
Thank you to LuckGod84. # play it painted.
# play it painted. It's my favorite hashtag. What can I say favorite?
Parentheses, however you want to paint it in any capacity. Simple, complex.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Play it painted doesn't mean painted to the utmost extreme of all art.
Yeah, and as we talked about before, it could also be like
painted.
Your army doesn't have to be fully painted. You're working on it. You're working your way through the minis.
You do you.
I just mean, like, let's say you got 9 out of 10 trenchers painted, and the 10th guy, you're halfway there.
Trencher Steve, you suck.
Should have stayed up later before the tournament.
Yeah,
come on.
But no, I always prefer to play with the painted.
Trencher Steve.
Poor Trencher Steve. It's like I walked into black paint. What?
Sir, someone dumped chrome all over me.
Got a question for you, Dallas, from Nick West.
Sure.
I remember previously you guys recommended a 1:15 ink to water ratio for glazes with P3 ink. But what ratio paint to water did you use on this chosen for glazing your zenithal priming with Beast Hide?
Oh man,
that
you're
was some
asking
specific
question.
very specific things that was decided at a convention, kind of willy-nilly random. The appropriate amount. Nick, the 1:15 ratio is very specifically for the Kador Red, because the red is so powerful. You need to drop it down to 1:15 and glaze it. This was probably more.
Dallas is tapping his finger.
I'm tapping.
He's calculating.
I'm literally trying to go back in time inside my head and think about what I did for the glaze. I would say it's probably more like probably 8 to 1. It's pretty thin, but it's not 15 to 1 or anything like that.
What, without using numbers, is there a visual characteristic or a sense of the paint that you can just kind of mix it till you know it's right?
Yeah, I mean, that's my problem, is I mix till I know it's right. All I do is I test it. I go over the zenithal, and if it tints the color without breaking, then I'm feeling pretty good about it. Rikers, I paint for satisfaction as well. I'm talking specifically about armies, but I definitely paint for satisfaction as well. I paint all kinds of models for, hey, look what I can do. Hey, look what you could do. With a little patience, practice, and perseverance. Take your painting to the extreme, like a Mountain Dew in the 90s.
You can still drink Mountain Dew.
Not like in the 90s.
No, that's
let's
true.
be honest.
It is a little different.
It is totally different. Like, you don't skydive anymore when you drink Mountain Dew.
That's true, but I never did. But I dreamed of skydiving while drinking it.
Just,
That's right.
I could be skydiving right now.
Did anyone ever confuse you for a skydiver while you were drinking, just walking down the street?
Like
Mountain Dew? Yeah. What's the air up there like?
Pretty extreme.
How was it?
You're so extreme.
It's a rush, huh?
They just throw a bag of flaming hot Cheetos at you, expecting you to catch it and just eat it.
I don't jump out of planes, but I do bike flips. Only when drinking Mountain Dew, and not well.
Do you ever take it off any sweet jumps?
Sweet jumps.
I'm just going to shade the whole bottom of this. I don't care. So it's like, that's the bottom of the gauntlet. Whatevs, lols. This is an army. Where are we at? Do you guys have a mini that you're most proud of that you've painted? Let's roundtable that, Tony.
Yeah.
Under the bus.
Pretty recently. It was the Throne of Everblight.
Oh, nice.
And not only did I think it turned out pretty well, like I'm just satisfied with how it turned out. I did have to kind of get outside my comfort zone a little bit on painting some of those big parts to make them look good. But I'm most proud of it because it took me a really long time to do it. Like I just kept, going into what we were talking before, just kept getting distracted by life and other projects. Once you start working on a project, it's always that new model is like so exciting and I'm so ready to do this. It's going to be so cool. And on big projects like that, especially where,
well, that one has a lot of surface area.
Yeah. It's, it's multiple sessions and a lot of patience painting the same stuff over and over. And it's kind of interesting how that motivation can die off very quickly when it comes to finishing
I haven't done anything that big yet.
Yeah.
You've not done any battle?
I haven't done any of the huge base models.
Wow.
But I have a couple staring at me.
Yeah.
Waiting for paint.
Got to get them finished. That's what felt real good. That's like, was just I sat down. I was like, I'm tired of this being half finished on my shelf. Dallas has been giving me a hard time for a year. I'm doing it.
It was more than a year.
Well, the whole thing was more than a year.
So
You've been giving me a hard time for about a year.
Literally, the first time I met you.
Yeah.
Was at a first Friday right after I started working here, and you're like, hi, I'm Tony. I'm like, hi, I'm Dawson. I'm like, oh, look, you're working on Throne. You're like, yeah, I'm excited to finish it. 3 years later.
I remember that day. Yeah, I was just putting on the first coats of paint. I had some sessions since then, but yeah. So all of you out there, if you have one of those projects, a half-finished project on your shelf, get it out, set it at your painting station, put a brush next to it, and a cup of water, and the next paint colors you think you're going to need. And then that's it. Just do that.
Yeah.
That works really well, actually.
And just next time you sit down, that's what you're working on. Just put one brush stroke on. Just one
stroke.
All you need. Pop it before you go to work in the morning, after you have your coffee, after you get all your stuff ready to go, before you walk out the door.
One more stroke every day.
You got the few extra minutes.
You don't even have to say it's what you're working on. You just, like you said, you can just have it on your desk. You have the paints next to it. And you'd be like, you know what? I'm going to sit down to paint. I want to paint my chosen of Everblight. Here's my chosen of Everblight. I'm going to put 2 hours on it. Before I put 2 hours on my chosen of Everblight, I'm going to give 30 minutes to my throne.
Mm-hmm.
And you paint your throne for 30 minutes. You're like, whoo,
I'm going
man, that thing
to
is
base coat that spike with that color.
Well, let's go a little bit more than one spike.
I don't want to, like, I'm big in the...
Give it 30 minutes.
If you give me 30 minutes, then I think, like, well, then I need 30 minutes. But if you say just, like, 2 minutes, base coat that spike... Maybe that becomes 30 minutes, and maybe it doesn't. But either way, that part is done.
Dunzo.
All right, so Doug, your model you're most proud of?
It's probably not a single model, but it was the Bog Trog Ambushers. I think it was the first time I tried to take one of our painting guides that looked kind of intimidating and had some, sort of extreme colors I didn't feel very comfortable with.
That moldy ogre.
Yeah. And it was really fun, and it was surprising how well it worked. I was like, this guide totally made my miniatures look cool, and they came out great. And I still, like, I've never actually played. I think I've used them in a couple of games, but like I used them in some role playing game stuff, and I still, every time I see that little unit, I'm like, those guys turned out really good.
I believe that was a Ron Cruzy tutorial.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I just remember looking at it, and because I was just like, oh, I have Bog Trogs. I should look at what the guide was, and I just remember being intimidated by it, and I don't even remember what it was now. But I think it was partially because of the colors. That they were colors.
What do you remember? What the color switch was? Like what?
I don't remember it very well. It's been a little while, but
was it like a change from like kind of more generic primary colors to like more earthy combinations?
I think it was more just the fact that, like, I'd gotten really good. Like, I'd been painting a lot of my Signar, so I'd gotten really good at blue and white, and and those metals and some leathers, and I hadn't done as many organic, paint jobs, and with that sort of it kind of had the yellows and the greens, and I was just like, I don't know, but it turned out great.
It is yeah, that is definitely a yellow because it uses mediocre.
Yeah, the moldy
ochre. Mm-hmm. So it uses those yellows, which are considered harder colors to paint. Once you crack the code, though, they become like any other color. But I do recognize that those can be very intimidating. So saying that, I will say I love the frogmen and the fishmen. So
yeah, me too.
They're like some of the best things in the world.
Yeah, I need to paint more of that. I think my rule folk are next in the queue because I have a bunch of Rulic stuff that I'd like to get painted up. But yeah, there's some minions stuff I wouldn't mind doing too.
Like that Bog Trog Ambusher. Was that big old Bog Trog?
Oh yeah.
That guy's so awesome. I just love that stuff.
Yeah, I need to get Rask painted up.
I kind of want to do a all Croak Company of Iron.
Oh yeah.
Because now we got quite a few of those models.
Croaks are great.
Quack Slick Spines.
Yep, and Gub. Little Gub.
It's just so weird.
That's one of my favorite things.
I know it's not the only weird thing we have, but still it stands out as being one of the weird ones.
I'm still bummed he erased it, but for a while, Getz had on our little dry erase board in our office, he had like a little drawing he had done of Gub. It was like a little cartoon of Gub. And anyway, we're both very fond of Gub.
How can you not be?
Yeah.
poor mystical frog attached to another frog.
Yeah, they're bros.
Frog bros.
They do magic together.
What about you, Dallas? What miniature are you most proud of?
Man, that's such a hard question to answer because like proud of is like I think it depends on what I'm proud about.
One of your busts, maybe.
Maybe one of the busts. I've talked about before. Like I'm really proud that I got the chance to paint a bunch of the new edition battle box casters.
Oh yeah,
because that was just like that. Like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is real. They hired me. Ooh. So there's parts of those that I'm pretty proud about. Also, the Avatar of Minoth. I painted the resculpt, and I was really proud about how I broke that into, or I was able to break into that recipe and understand the recipe better. So, but maybe my Sorcerer bust. Like I don't know.
Sorcerer bust pretty good. I always I liked your dual Nemo busts.
The Nemo ones are amazing.
Yeah, because I got the opportunity to paint the studio one and my personal one, and just took them totally different directions.
Yeah, they look like two different characters.
Yeah,
I really like the color scheme on your personal one too.
Well, and see, that's the other thing is like proud of like I painted that yellow Signar stuff, and then like you added it to the fiction, right? And I'm just like, so I'm proud of that.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
I'm proud of that.
Now that's something that's really fun to do. For some reason, it just made me think back to Cruzy's Scorn army, you know, with the sort of black, shiny black, you know.
The Horde, no, something the Abyss.
The Abyssal, yeah, his Abyssal army. You know, it was just a great looking army, and I saw him playing it on the table versus somebody, and it just caught my eye so much that when I think I was just starting to work on the fiction of Makita going back to confront Vinter at the Abyssal Fortress, and I was like, it's got like the army there has to be, you know, the Cruzy army.
The Cruzy army.
And so, you know, it got incorporated into the world just because it looked so amazing.
Yeah, that stuff's really fun. What else we got here?
I actually got a question from Donald O. Murchew, who has been saying that he's been painting in a wash and highlight style for years and is looking to try out more of the painterly privateer press method that you show off, Dallas. And so he wants to know how he should make the transition, what are the first skills that he should practice. And I will let you fill in, but I got to jump in and say I would start by going to Privateer Press Prime on YouTube and checking out our Formula P3 Presents series. We have over 60 episodes of painting tutorials with Dallas and Brendan on how to paint like they paint.
I need to watch a bunch of those.
Tony, I mean, you kind of just nailed it, right? It's just like, the videos are out there. I'm right here. Hello. Hi, Donald. I'm right here, and you just start doing it. The first thing is learning the two-brush blend to do it like we do. And just start working with colors and being okay to screw up. You've never learned anything by winning. That's what I taught my son.
I'm going to see if I can post a link to our playlist in here.
I'm sure we can somehow, right?
Wow, yeah, we can. Sorry,
He's just
doing it.
The technology, it exists. And soon, it'll be yours.
So in the chats, I am posting the link. This will take you to our complete playlist. In that playlist, as Dallas mentioned, there's also a specific video on the two-brush blending method that gets used all the time. So if you're not familiar with two-brush blending, but you have been doing some painting, if you've never done painting, start with the 101. The first 10 episodes will get you up and running. If you have some experience but don't do two-brush blending yet, I would start with that.
Get stuck in. My Thamar Black is...
Did you see something, Doug?
No, I just realized we weren't with the scroll.
Try to get back over here.
Reiner72 says learning how to fail is so important. I totally agree. Like, the most successful people you know have failed more times than many people have tried. And that's a quote from somebody, right? That's a
probably.
It's a paraphrased common thought about failure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like successful people have failed more times than most people have even tried. So
get to failing.
Another thing,
failing is your key to succeeding.
Yeah, well, and also people talk about plateaus, and I'm a big fan of the plateau. And the plateau is that, like, I feel like I haven't gotten better in like 3 months. That's okay. Like, embrace that, because there's only one direction to go after a plateau. That's up. Like that means you're on the brink of learning something new and having a breakthrough. So embrace that plateau and just keep pushing into it. And next thing you know, you're going to break through, and you're going to have that big jump in skill or technique or understanding that you've been waiting for. Like, that's what that plateau is. So when you hit that plateau and you're like, oh, I just don't feel like I'm getting better, just lean into it and just be like, oh yeah, baby, here we go.
Yeah, because like that's when you're kind of honing your basic skills. You know, you're getting that practice, that muscle memory down. You need to make it to where the thing you're doing feels instinctive, and then the new ideas, you know, can flow from there.
And it can be very hard to recognize when you're in it, right? Like, it's, you know, can be frustrating, and the aspiration gap between your current ability and where you want to be is big enough that you just want to get there faster and faster, but just keep going.
Well, it goes back to like fundamentals, right? It's like I've had people contact me and they're like, I'm new to painting, I want to know how to paint. And you're just like, well, first you need to learn how to base coat. And they're like, teach me your trick. And I'm like, well, you can't learn my trick until you can do the fundamentals. You can't do a slam dunk till you can dribble a ball.
All right, yeah. You can't score a goal till you try to score a bunch of goals. Like, all those fundamentals in any discipline are all key to getting it done. It all becomes muscle memory. When you don't have to think about those as much and keep improving on them, then it makes experimenting way easier.
I was just imagining Dallas, you know, holding a paintbrush in his hand and being like, "When you can snatch the brush from my hand."
I'm gonna do that later while he's painting. I'm gonna sneak up behind him. Bam! Done. Who's the master now?
Just and throw your arms out like, who's the master now?
It's like, that was way easy. I should have done that a long time ago.
Look how much better you are now, Tony.
Oh man. So Alec wants to know, you've talked about your favorite miniatures and about who your favorite characters in War Machine are. Doug, are you gonna get one of Dallas's characters into canon? And then I'm canon. Append that with saying Nate Brooks says he thinks Chuck Dogwood is already pretty much canon.
In Hungerford's mind.
So we're not gonna see Chuck Dogwood anytime soon?
Chuck Dogwood does exist, but I think his nature is very different in my mind versus in Hungerford's.
So is he a legendary figure?
No.
In the Iron Kingdoms?
No, I think he's like a low end black lad who's got a small patch of woods. You know, it's like a 50-yard little stretch of woods somewhere in backwoods, Kador. And he thinks big. He thinks he's very important.
Oh, so within the world, he is an actual person. Oh, okay.
But
I was thinking he might be the man, the myth.
No, he's there. I just think he's not quite as influential as he thinks he is.
Gotcha.
Chuck Dogwood. He's got 5 trees in his orchard.
He's got big ideas.
He's got a burrow mog problem he's trying to deal with.
Yeah, you know what? He'd be great if he could just get rid of these burrow mogs.
Yeah, exactly. He thinks he's manipulating armies across the world, but he's really just kind of trying to keep his trees from getting run
burrow mogged.
Yeah.
Another question from Donald, which I actually don't know the answer to. I think there is an answer to this. Unfortunately, John is the one to ask, and he is not here. Is there anywhere I can show off my models to you guys? Painted up a small Crix force with blue glowies that I'm super proud of.
Yeah.
Lock and load.
Lock and load. Come to Lock and Load, and I will look at them in IRL, and I will give you my opinion. You want my opinion? It's a harsh opinions. It's not really. It can be.
But you said that you can mitigate your style as to your criticism. So if they ask for the full destruction.
Oh, you're getting it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, just tell me what to do, I will do it. I'll be like, all right. But if you're like, give it to me straight, I'm like, oh boy, you just let me off my chain. What was the question? Oh, so, hang on. Go to Facebook or Twitter, tag Privateer Press, and say hashtag Play It Painted.
Play It Painted.
Yep. Chuck Dogwood. He has 5 trees and a dream. Nicholas, you're the best. Thank you.
Karen Hyde is asking for the Filthy Five to be canon.
I mean, in my head, they are. And the Filthy Five is not a set. Like, that's the thing is, like, I've come up with recently is because I added some canon in my head about.
Is this your Company of Iron?
Yeah, the trenchers.
Right.
The jailbirds, like I used the jailbirds as inspiration of the Filthy Five.
Sure.
So the jailbirds exist. That's canon.
Right. I remember us working on that.
Yeah, and I just used that as inspiration for the Filthy Five. And in my head, the Filthy Five was originally 5 guys sent on a suicide mission.
Yeah. But they survived.
Well, the ones that are living now might not necessarily be the
originals.
Ones, the originals.
Sure.
Like maybe Maxwell Finn.
Yeah.
Right? And the Trenchbuster, Bailey Backbreaker Brunswick. But then like other ones might have died and been replaced. And so that's why there's more than 5.
Sure. It's the current 5.
It's the current 5.
But yeah, you send me some notes on that. That would actually be a fun group to do some fiction on. I bet we could brew up something for those guys.
What I originally
New Filthy Five novel confirmed. Doug Seacat,
I
right here.
Say
You heard
novel, maybe, but something
full
short.
novel, like big,
epic,
real big.
Originally, I pitched
lots
the
of words
idea
and stuff.
of in No Quarter. I wanted to have. You remember the way back in the '80s on the back of your Joes, they would have the little.
Oh yeah, those
dossiers.
little
Oh, sure.
dossier cards.
Oh yeah, those.
I wanted to do that for each of the Filthy Five.
Yeah, sure.
Oh god.
I used to cut those out and collect them in a
Dude,
Ziploc bag. They were so
cool.
Actually, there were times when I often chose my action figures with 2 criteria. I'm totally taking this on a tangent. That one was the number of pieces it had, and then the other was if I liked what was on the dossier. Like I would read about the character, and if they didn't sound cool, then they weren't my first choice because I wasn't able to get more than one at a time usually. So I'd be very picky.
Sure.
Number of moving parts. Cool dossier.
I see Hungerford got involved since we invoked Chuck Dogwood.
Did we invoke Hungerford as
Yeah,
well?
see,
Oh yeah, there he is.
And if you scroll up,
I think it has Google notifications on for Chuck
yeah,
Dogwood.
if he hears Chuck Dogwood, he'll magically appear.
He's got 5 trees in a dream.
See that? Yeah, it'd be good to have like a little sitcom. It'd be a little druidic sitcom with Chuck Dogwood. He's
And his
never
burrow
quite getting the respect that he feels he's due.
Nathan
Can we
Howard.
start saying he got burrow mogged as like a thing?
Oh
Like,
yeah, nobody wants to get burrow mogged.
no, but like if you see a guy like stranded on the
Yeah.
side of the road, can we
Oh,
just
yeah.
say he got burrow mogged?
Burrow mogged. Yeah.
Nathan Howard is asking for any chance of a Filthy Five comic book.
Oh God.
That would be a lot of fun to do.
Tony will draw it.
Oh man,
Tell-
that'll be fun. Let's not make commitments here. Some people have kids.
We just draw it real slow.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. So there's a couple of these. Both Karen and I'm sorry I can't remember who else said this, but they kind of implied that they were afraid to get your feedback at Lock and Load. And
Why?
Yeah, that's kind of my question. Why?
Dallas is super nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one. Like you can get feedback from Brendan if you're more comfortable with talking to Brendan. You can get your feedback from Ron Cruzy.
And Cruzy looks intense, but is also super nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like really good with giving feedback.
I think that's partially my problem is I look way more intense than I am. Even when I'm not being intense.
Dallas.
You
is a
look
teddy
happy
bear.
intense though. Usually,
If you didn't know, he really is a teddy bear.
I am. I'm a cuddler. But getting feedback is super important for the growth of anything. You cannot be an island unto yourself. You cannot teach yourself to ultimate proficiency. Like, people are self-taught. I'm not denying that. And you can quote and you can find all kinds of examples of people. I'm pretty much self-taught. But there comes a point where you're just like, I need somebody to tell me what else there is.
Well, and on that point too, is that there's even that level of, in getting feedback, you can reject that feedback.
Sure.
And or disagree with the other opinions that are out there about ways to do things. But the fact that that feedback was given, applied, and then you make a decision based on that on how to move forward, it's all important.
Well, rejected feedback still informs future decision.
Absolutely.
Like, that's, I mean, I kind of just long-windedly said what you were saying, but yeah.
Well, and just as an outsider, it seems to me, you know, when I see any of you guys interacting with people, it's obvious you're enjoying
Oh
it.
my gosh, what just happened?
Like, you guys really have a good time instructing other people in painting.
Yeah, point of order. Dallas, you can never ignore my feedback.
Ladies and gentlemen, William Schick in the room.
That is
Crashing the
accurate.
stream.
Of the two people that I cannot ignore, you are one. He's so true. Man, did you see his face when he walked out that door too? He was so happy. He just put his foot down on my neck. Oh, that just made my day. Oh, the rest of my day is wrecked. I can't even imagine what he has waiting. That means he has something waiting for me when I get out of here.
Yeah.
That's what that is. Oh, there's an interesting one. Andrew D. Roma. Any backstory on Locke from Crucible Guard on how he infiltrated Crucible Guard to become a warcaster? Can we talk about that yet? Are we ready?
I don't think I can give a very satisfying answer on that, but I think saying that she infiltrated the Crucible Guard isn't quite right. One of the interesting things about Locke is yeah, she's sort of a double agent, but she's also the way that they're set up. She can sort of do both. Like, there could be a point where her loyalties are going to be tested, where she'd have to make a decision. But for most of the time, she can effectively advance the Crucible Guard's agenda while also being devoted to Cirrus. Those two aren't necessarily at odds. When they are, she might have to decide, where things go. But just like any deep agent, it's not like it's a either or kind of situation.
So she's not active. She's not there actively trying to undermine them.
No, not at all. She just she really likes Cirrus, but that's also not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, there's that.
Depending on your perspective.
I mean, Kador lives with that. Literally, what, 90% of the Kadoran population lives with that problem, anyways, right?
Well, and
because they're Minites,
right? Well, and one of the things that's kind of interesting about the situation is that they basically, like, if you are interested in technology, if you want to be an engineer, like, it's real natural to have an interest in Cirrus, and that doesn't necessarily mean that your other beliefs are just thrown out the window.
Right. Yeah. I like the duality kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it's easier with the Morrowans. Like, we've kind of set it up to where, like, you could be like a casual Cirrus worshiper just because you like engineering and numbers and astronomy, and you don't have to know anything about the deeper convergence. And you could still maybe go to a Morrowan church, but you're like, that's I go there for my spiritual needs, but when it comes to what I'm really interested in, it's the stars.
Right. My spiritual needs is Minoth.
Right.
But my engineering needs,
mm-hmm.
You don't pray to Minoth for the nuts and bolts of a warjack.
Is it a parallel for Menites that live in Kador as well? But
yeah, they're we actually, it's kind of an interesting little subcult with the Kadoran Mechanics Assembly, which is like the big brotherhood of engineers, the guys that are making the warjacks in Kador. There's a pretty big Cirrus membership in among those people, and they wouldn't necessarily consider that to be at odds with one another. Now, your local Mennonite priest might disagree if he knew, you're going to these meetings, off hours, but
Sure.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of duality there, and the Cirrus worship in general is very open to the notion that those things aren't opposed. Again, that might be different if you're an inner member, if you're a part of the actual convergence of Cirrus. If you're walking around in a clockwork body, you're probably not welcome in the temples and churches anymore.
Right. It's an inclusive